of the City of Kingman Economic Development and Marketing Commission meeting. It's called to order at 12:01. The first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, we do roll call before or after? Let's see, roll call. Oh, yeah, I do. It's under approval of minutes. So Pledge of Allegiance first. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item 1, which is the approval of the minutes from, I think it's April, but it says January.
I'll go ahead and take roll call.
Okay.
Okay. Chairman Sixta?
Here.
Commissioner Mandola? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Commissioner Fossen?
Here.
Commissioner Sawaya? Commissioner Davis?
Present.
Commissioner Stockbridge?
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We're going to move kind of fast and short because there's another meeting directly after this one. A budget meeting for the city. So the approval of minutes. Has everyone read the minutes from the last meeting? Does anybody have any changes, questions, comments? I didn't see anything that needed changed. Okay, then it is on the table for approval of minutes. Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. The next item is the consideration of public comments. Do we have anybody submitted for that? The public comments, Lisa?
I did not receive any public comments.
Okay. Any questions about public comments at this time? Okay. Item 3 is staff reports. Correct? No? Wait, I'm in the wrong one. The next is Annie is up for the item number 3, the reports.
Right, good afternoon, Chair Sixta and Commissioners. I am your City Clerk, Annie Meredith, and I have the pleasure of delivering your annual open meeting law and parliamentary procedures training. So I'm just going to go through a couple of PowerPoints. If you have any questions as we're going through, please feel free to stop me, or I'll allow some time at the end for questions as well. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes, I can.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So what is open meeting law? It is the public policy of this state that meetings of public bodies be conducted openly, and that notices and agendas be provided for such meetings, which contain such information as is reasonably necessary to inform the public of the matters to be discussed or decided. Toward this end, any person or entity charged with the interpretations of this law shall construe any provision of this law in favor of open and public meetings. So basically, all meetings of any public body shall be public, and all persons that desire shall be permitted to attend and listen to the deliberations and proceedings. So it boils down to the public's business must be conducted in the public. Why does it matter? Because it helps protect the public and it preserves the right to participate in local government. It also protects public officials and you as commissioners It maintains the integrity of our government, and it ensures a better informed citizenry. And then it builds trust between the government and the citizenry. Who must comply with open meeting law? Each and every one of you individually as commissioners. It's important to note that if a public meeting, an open meeting law violation is brought forth, it is on you as an individual commissioner, and any fines or any penalties, that's not something that the city covers. That's not something your commission covers. That's something that you individually would be responsible for. And I always just like to make sure everybody understands that. The public body is defined as the legislature, all boards and commissions of the state or political subdivision, all standing, special, or advisory committees or subcommittees appointed by the public body. This is going to include our quasi-judicial bodies, our Board of Adjustments, and our Building Board of Appeals. And then a subcommittee is any entity, however designated, that is officially established on motion and order of a public body and whose members have been appointed for the specific purpose of making a recommendation concerning decisions to be made or considered, or a course of conduct to be taken or considered by the public body. What constitutes a meeting? The gathering in person or through technological devices of a quorum of the members of a public body, where you discuss, propose, or take any type of legal action, including any deliberations by a quorum with respect to such action. So for you guys, you are a 7-member board, so any over 4 is a quorum for you guys. Quorum defined is a majority of the members of a board or commission. And then it's important to remember that vacant positions do not reduce your quorum requirement. What constitutes a meeting? In today's day and age, there are unlimited possibilities when it comes to communication. This is definitely not an exhaustive list, but it's some things that maybe people wouldn't think about as a form of communication that could potentially violate open meeting law. That's going to include email, anything from website communication, blogs, Facebook, Twitter, any of the social medias. So we really recommend that elected officials, or you guys in your commissioner role would be an appointed, should refrain from sending any emails or electronic communication to a quorum of your public body. In order to avoid serial meetings, you want to make sure you don't propose any legal action to any members electronically. You want to refrain from using electronic communications to discuss with members any matters that are likely to come before you for action. And it's important when Lisa or Gary or anybody from the staff sends out information to your commission as a whole, that you don't reply all, that you instead reply directly, or even start another message just to make sure that you are not violating open meeting law. Splintering a quorum. So a meeting can also occur when less than a quorum of the public body discusses a matter of city business, and then you discuss it later with a couple other members. We are a small community, so it's oftentimes that you may be at a different community or social function with other commissioners. And if you discuss any commission business that's before you, and then you leave and you meet up with a couple of other commissioners and have the same discussion, you have splintered your quorum and created an open meeting law violation. Another thing I just wanted to point out, because it was brought up in one of my other presentations, is that if there is an item that is brought before your commission for consideration, or an upcoming item that's going to be brought up, and somebody from the public contacts you directly to have a pretty robust discussion about it, the better practice there is to invite them to the meeting so that all of the commissioners have the opportunity to be a part of that discussion and hear what their comments are and get the feedback at that time. Informing the public, state statute requires that we post our agendas no less than 24 hours in advance so that the public has notice of our meetings. Our meetings have to be officially posted in 3 locations on our city website, physically at the city complex, and then physically in our engineering building. If any of those are not posted, then we are not able to move forth and have a meeting. It'll have to be canceled or rescheduled. Our agendas have to have the date, time, and location of the meeting. Right now with our hybrid or our all electronic meeting that we're having, it has to state that on the agenda, which is why we posted an amended agenda for this meeting. It was a perfect example. It was going to be hybrid in chambers, so we had posted that the meeting was going to be at our address, and then it moved completely virtual, so we had to update that so the public knew that the meeting would no longer be held in our building. They have to have any matters that are going to be discussed have to be agendized, and they have to have a summary that gives the public enough information to understand what's going to be discussed. It doesn't have to be a detailed list of every single point that's going to be hit, but they need to be able to just take a glance at the agenda and see the item and understand, have a basic understanding of what will be discussed so that they can determine if they want to be in attendance at that meeting. And then any other matters must in some reasonable manner be related to the item listed on the agenda. And sometimes this is that gray area we can get into with commissions. So I really like to just elaborate a little bit on this. If you are in a report, say a department report, and staff is sharing information and it triggers an idea about something else that's not exactly related to what they're talking about, you want to make sure that you don't bring it up for discussion and that you just have staff bring it back. So maybe a future report, maybe a future item for consideration. You just want to make sure that you stay on topic and that you don't discuss anything that's not listed. Again, only items specifically listed on the agenda can be discussed, considered, or decided. If it's not on the agenda, you cannot discuss it. And then any action that's taken on an item that was not properly noticed on an agenda, it violates open meeting law, and any of that action is null and void. Call to the public. Call to the public is an agenda item that allows the public to address you on topics of concern, even though the topic's not specifically on the agenda. They are not required by statute. All of our council, our regular council meetings and our commission meetings do allow for a call to the public. And then you can impose a reasonable time limit for speakers. So council, we allow each speaker 3 minutes. Your commission can determine, work with your staff liaison and determine what a reasonable time limit would be for you. During call to the public, you as commissioners have 4 options. You can respond to a criticism if somebody approaches your commission and verbally attacks a commissioner or the commission as a whole. You can respond to that, but you'd have to wait until the call to the public has closed before you can do that. You can ask staff to review the item. You can have it be brought back for a future agenda so that you can have discussion. Or you can have the awkward option sometimes is just to sit in silence and let the person acknowledge that you cannot have discussion at this time. And then again, the call to the public is only permitted if it is listed on your agenda. So it's important with the call to the public that you do not engage in dialogue. So you can say, thank you for your comments, or you can say nothing. But if they ask a question, which a lot of times people addressing you in the call to the public will ask a question, you cannot respond or answer that question. The public has the right to attend, listen to, tape record, and videotape the meetings. They do not have the right to speak unless it's during that designated call to the public or during a public hearing that's listed on the agenda and they have signed up and let you know that they want to address you. And they don't have the right to be disruptive. So if a public officer knowingly violates open meeting law, the court can impose a civil penalty. All open meeting law violations are submitted to the Arizona Attorney General's office, and they have somebody that reviews those. Penalty can also be imposed against each person who knowingly aided, agreed to aid, or attempted to aid in violating open meeting law. So if it's one of those quorum splintering violations, any person that was a part of that could potentially have penalties imposed against them. And if a public officer knowingly violates the law with the intent to deprive the public of information, the public officer can be removed from office and have to pay any attorney fees or fines. And then any legal action done by a public body, so your entire agenda, if that meeting is found to be held in violation of open meeting law, will be null and void. So any action for that whole agenda would have to come back. Really quickly on conflict of interest, we are a smaller community. I had mentioned that before. And so there are times that our volunteer commissioners may come across an item on an agenda that could potentially have a conflict of interest. It's illegal to fail to declare a conflict of interest under Arizona law, or to participate or otherwise be involved in discussion on issues or contracts where such a conflict exists. This covers all public officers and employees of incorporated cities and towns. And this also applies to private interests, of public officials or employees' relatives. So it's important just to find out ahead of time what your conflicts are. We do have a conflict of interest form that you can get from Lisa, and you just let her know ahead of time. When that item comes up, you just excuse yourself. When we're in the building, the best practice is to just step out and then step back in when that item has been finished being discussed. So we covered this. If you have a substantial interest in an item that's on the agenda, you have any personal or financial gain that could come from agenda item, then you want to declare that conflict of interest. And then if we have an employee or a public official that sells anything, as soon as they're in that role, then they have to go through the public competitive bidding process. They can no longer just be a regular vendor. Anything that they participate in, they have to go through public bidding process. Do you have a question? Okay. And then there's the remote interest, and really it's up to you. We trust that everybody is a professional, and if you have a conflict of interest, then you're going to know what that is and you can declare that. These are the statutes that refer to open meeting law and conflict of interest. Does anybody have any questions for me? And I can also make these PowerPoints available to Lisa to provide to the commissioner, so you have it for reference.
That'd be great.
All right, if there's no questions, I'm gonna just pop over into my next one, Parliamentary Procedures. This is just a short one. We'll go through.
Annie, just one real quick.
Yeah.
So you have to bow out of the complete discussion. So if there's a discussion taking place, if there's any conflict at all, you simply must remove yourself from the very beginning, correct?
That is correct. Before the agenda item is even brought up, the commissioner would want to say, you know, Madam Chair, I have a conflict with item 4A, whatever it may be. I'm going to excuse myself for discussion and deliberation and action on this item.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, parliamentary procedures. This is straight from Robert's Rules. So you're probably pretty familiar with it. It's the basics. So we'll just run through it really quick, and then if you have any questions at the end, feel free to ask. So what is parliamentary procedure? It's a set of rules for conduct at meetings that allows everyone to be heard and make decisions without confusion. It's important because it's a time-tested method of conducting business at meetings and public gatherings, and it can be adapted to fit the needs of any organization. And it's just important that everybody knows the basic rules. The typical meeting order, this is how our meetings are laid out. Sometimes they can be adjusted as needed. You're called order, roll call. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but you can see how it's laid out. Motion. A motion is a proposal that the entire membership take action or a stand on an issue. Motions are how the members are able to express themselves. There are three basic types of motions. The motions that we see most often are just a main motion. The purpose of the main motion is to introduce items to the membership for consideration. Cannot be made when any other motion is on the floor, and it yields to privileged, subsidiary, and incidental motions. A subsidiary motion's purpose is to change or affect how a main motion is handled, and it is voted on before the main motion. And then last, an incidental motion purpose is to provide a means of questioning procedure concerning other motions and must be considered before the other motion. The life of a motion, somebody will make a motion, sometimes the chairperson will call for a motion, and then it's seconded. If the motion gets a second, there will be a discussion on the motion, and then you take your vote. How a motion is presented, this is very formal, and you will see, like it had said in the beginning, it's adaptable to what works best for you. But you want to make sure you wait until the last speaker is finished. You address your chairperson by saying, Madam Chair or Chairwoman. You wait until they recognize you. You want to make your motion in a clear and concise manner. This is very important because this is the legal action that is going to be taken by the commission. You want to make sure your recording secretary hears it and make sure it's not noted the way it should be for the public record. You want to make sure you say, I move that we, or I make a motion that we approve, or whatever the motion may be. You want to make sure that we avoid personalities. Sometimes we can get really passionate about items that are brought before us for discussion. So you want to make sure you stay on subject. You'll wait for somebody to make a second, or sometimes the chairperson can call for a second. I have a motion, there's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? And then if there is no second, like I said, the motion is lost. The chairman's going to state the motion. It is, I have a motion that we and a second. Is there any additional discussion? And then if not, it is brought forth for your vote. There is a time for you to expand on your motion, and that is going to be during the discussion before the vote is taken. You can amend your motion if you need to, or make that decision to do that. The mover is always allowed to speak first. Any comments and debate must be directed to the chairperson. You want to make sure that you keep to that time limit that you've established. And then the mover may speak again only after all speakers are finished unless called upon by the chairperson. And then they'll put that to the membership, you know, and you can say, are you ready to take a vote? Generally, it is proposed. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. You can vote by voice, by roll call. Sometimes when we're doing a hybrid meeting, in order to make sure we capture all the individual votes, we will do a roll call vote just so we can make note of that and specifically hear everybody's yay or nay. And then there's also the option to raise your hand. There are two other motions that you may see come before you. A motion to table. This is often used in the attempt to kill a motion, but the option is present to take from the table for reconsideration by the membership. Sometimes we see this when you want staff to do additional research or bring back additional information before you have a vote on a matter. So maybe you'll table it to the next meeting. And then there's a motion to postpone indefinitely. This is often used as a means of parliamentary strategy. It allows opponents of a motion to test their strength without an actual vote being taken. And then that discussion is once again open on the main motion. Parliamentary procedure is the best way to get things done at your meetings, but it only works if you use it properly. You want to make sure that you allow motions that are in order. Members obtain the floor properly. You speak clearly and concisely, and then you obey the rules of debate, most importantly, being courteous. And that is all I have for you on parliamentary procedure. Are there any questions on either of those before I let you continue on your meeting.
Questions? Comments? Thank you, Annie. I learned, yeah.
Awesome. And I will get those to Lisa so she can provide them to you guys so you have them for future use.
Will we have both?
Yeah,
I would like both. Thank you. I
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate you. Thank you.
No problem. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too. Next on our agenda is some brief staff reports. So I'll call on you, Gary.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. What I'd like to do real quick is Joe Husband and Doug Breckenridge, our new airport manager, are online with us. If they could just give us a brief report, and Joe can introduce Doug, who will be taking over. Joe will be leaving us as of Wednesday, and we much appreciate having him help. So Joe, if you take it away.
Yes. Hey, Gary, thank you very kindly, and Madam Chairman, Commission. Yeah, it is my great privilege and pleasure to introduce Doug Breckenridge to you. He's our new airport manager. He's been on the job here since about the 3rd of May. And so we're very excited to have him. He comes to us from Jackson Municipal Airport Authority, where he spent the last 12 years serving a variety of roles at both Jackson Medgar Wiley Evers International Airport, as well as Hawkins Field, their general aviation airport. He's also a graduate of Louisiana Tech University with a degree in aviation management. He actually started his educational career there as in the public or the professional pilot program, and then switched over what we like to consider to the light side of airport management before completing his degree. So Doug's been with us. He and I have been working together for the last few weeks, and I'll finish out my service full-time this Friday, and I'll be wrapping up a few odds and ends in the coming month or two, just finishing some things that I've got in process, assisting Doug wherever necessary. So I'd like to express my appreciation to the Commission for your support of our airport in the 2 tours now that I've been here, 7 months this time, 6 months prior. Thank you very kindly. And with that, I'd be happy to turn it over to Doug.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Doug. Joe pretty much summed up everything about me that I could possibly say. He's been a great guy. He's been for me a lot of information, but I did want to point it out to the Commission that your economics team over here is a great group of individuals. They have provided me a lot of assistance, keeping me up to speed, and they've been very active in the actual airport. Those guys and gals are just really great individuals. But for the report, we did for the airport side, we did finish off a fencing project. That fencing project has released over 30 acres of additional aircraft storage. We have, or we're about to put out an RFP, a request for proposals, for 2 parcels of land on the airport. We have 2 entities that are interested in it. Hopefully it'll bring out a few additional entities that may be interested and get a little bit of bidding war on that front. The FAA currently is going through and reviewing our environmental assessments. That assessment is pretty much crucial for leasing the 1,800 acres. They're going to do their best to help work with us in speeding this along and move forward the project as quickly as possible. The other is that ADOT is just about finished with their airport economics assessment. That actual study will determine the economic impact of airports throughout their surrounding communities. And we're expecting that final report about June or July. That's when we expect to actually get that report, and that will be made available to everybody once we obtain that final report. But that is it for the airport side.
Well, thank you and welcome. We're glad you're here. And thank you, Mr. Husbands, for everything you've done for us as well.
Okay, Mr. Bradley Bennett, if you would brief update on the industrial side, please.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Chairman Sixta, commissioners, just a quick update on some rail numbers. February rail numbers for cars stored in the industrial park were about 102. the cars that we switched in the park were at 149. Then in March, we saw a substantial increase. Cars stored went up to 930, and the cars switched went up to 204. And April kind of maintained those numbers a little bit less, but still substantially higher. We're at 818 cars stored and 173 cars switched. So we've had a lot of activity in regards to rail on the industrial park side. We've continued to maintain the entryways into the park. We've got a landscaping company that's been doing a wonderful job, and tumbleweeds have basically become non-existent. And the tenants within the park have basically said that they're very happy with how well the park entrance all the way up through the airport has been being maintained. In regards to some land sales, we do have a land sale that's going to be on the council's June 1st agenda. This is a 3.6 acre parcel, and it will net the airport land sales fund about $118,650. The purchaser of the property is basically they're building a facility for a local snack food distribution group. And they've already met with the county. We met with them actually today, and went through some of the site plan process. So we're excited that that project's going to be moving forward. We've also been working on a regular basis trying to expand broadband, not only in the industrial park, but throughout the city. We've met with a company from another state that's looking at getting into the Arizona market, and to provide fiber and broadband with very good speeds. So we're going to continue to work with groups like that to get them the information they need to ascertain to see if it's a market that they can delve into. This last few weeks, we've had the Arizona Commerce Authority come up and visit us, and they've basically we've provided tours of the industrial park and gone over the various projects that we've been working on with them or submitted with them. Some of the updates on the businesses that are currently developing. Colt Builders is moving forward with their project. They finished up some roadway work recently within the last week. This project, they plan to be in production this summer, hopefully, and hopefully by August. And just as a refresher, they're going to employ upwards to 30 people, and they're investing over the next 3 years $8 million into that project. Cordillera Window Company, they got their building permits approved for their site. They're going to be going into the what was the old Southwire building. They're going to take 90,000 square foot of that property, and they hope to have their certificate of occupancy sometime in the middle of June. And so they're moving forward with that. We've also been working with Interstate Trailers on their expansion. We did sell them some property adjacent to their site for that extension. That happened last year. They've got their site plan submitted and working with the county for approval on that. We just continue to work with industrial park businesses looking to expand in the park, as well as we are submitting on projects that are looking to come out west on a regular basis. Just within the last 2 weeks, we've submitted for 2 projects that are looking out west. We do compete against multiple states for these projects, but we always put our best foot forward. One other project that we're working on with the team is we're putting together as part of the economic development plan. It was called that it would be good if the team puts together an annual update. And so we are in the process of working on a 2020 annual update where we're going to go over various items that happened during 2020, some goals, some accomplishments, things of that nature. And then we're going to provide that update to the council in July, one of the 2 meetings there. And so we'll look forward to doing that. And that is my update, if there are any questions.
If not, can we move on? Thank you, Bennett. And Josh, I believe you're going to cover for both you and Sylvia today.
Yes, I'll go ahead and start with Sylvia's update. She continues to work with Ricky Hayes on retail attractions on those retail recruitments. And Harbor Freight is the next opening that she's working on. They hope to have that opened up early June. So she's working with them on that opening ceremony. She's also working with many of the smaller businesses on the facade improvement program, including posting some of those before and after pictures to kind of help promote the program and continue success with that in the next year. The Parklet program is it's on hold right now, basically because the Beale Street Streetscape program looks like it might be moving forward, and that really affects where a lot of those parklets are looking at going. She is contacting a lot of the businesses about expanding the expanded utility relief program. That's a $300 grant. It's basically utility assistance. It's not a loan. That's available to a lot of the businesses in Kingman that were affected from the shutdown or were behind on water utilities through the time from March of 2020 through now. There's Chambers also has a micro grant opportunity, which has up to $1,000 that can also help with some of those things. So she's working on that. And then she's also assisting the Kingsmen. They are pushing forward with their June PRCA rodeo, and she's trying to help find some of the businesses she works with, maybe that will help them to pick up some of the sponsorships that they'd lost from the previous years. Some general updates from the tourism side.
Josh, before
Yes.
you move on, could you just so that the new members of the commission and even some of the commissioners, what the facade grants and stuff are real quick?
Sure. So the Parklet Pedlet program, that's the one that's on hold. That's basically an opportunity or ability for a business to expand out into the street. It gives them extra space for seating and gives social distancing. So it's really put in, I think, a lot because we were trying to help with businesses that were affected by having to have reduced numbers during the COVID restrictions. The facade improvement program is trying to help businesses with making the outside of their business a little bit more appealing. It helps with some signage, it helps with painting, maybe replacing doors, just things that make the streetscape a little bit nicer so that it makes the experience of coming into that area, our commercial zones, a little bit more appealing.
Thank you.
The utility assistance, as I said, that's to help businesses that had become behind on utility payments because they weren't able to operate or were affected during the COVID restrictions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Is that it?
He's got
That's
the tourism
Sylvia's,
piece there. He was
so-
just doing that for
Okay.
Sylvia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
On the tourism side, we're continuing to work on the Route 66 drive-through arch that is being placed on the east end of our parking lot. The poles have been put in. We've got a agreement signed out for the landscaping, so that'll be moving forward. And we hope to have that completed in July. It's possible it could push into into August, depending on how everything goes. But Matt's already working on our legacy signs. Our vendor is already working on the construction of that, the sign. The Route 66 drive-through event that we held April 29 and May 1, we hosted 77 cars. This was the weekend that would have traditionally been the fun run weekend. Seligman had really put out the red carpet. I think they had about 50 cars show up though. So we feel pretty good about the 77 that we had come through here. And it just reminded people about the fun run. I think it was a goodwill for the community and for our visitors. We do have the tourism administrative coordinator position that was vacated by Natalie Tomaszewski. We've posted that, conducted interviews. We hope to have that position filled the first half of June. That will help us with pushing out the event information, which we are getting a lot more events scheduled into Kingman. And so we just want to make sure that we're helping to get the information out on all of those. Arizona Office of Tourism has put together a strategic plan advisory panel. Kingman team will be participating in that panel to help the Arizona Office of Tourism with kind of the next 3 years recovery process, figuring out how we're going to move forward and rebuild our tourism in Arizona. A few marketing updates. We've been running a lot of AAA e-newsletter ads. This is in Arizona, Southern California, and Northern California, hitting several million of their members. And it's going March through June. So we're really trying to hit people as they're looking at their summer 2021 planning. All 3 billboards around Kingman, we've got those new skins on all of those. The image that we have out of that came out of our photo library project that we're with Imagine Photography, is a local commercial photographer in town. We continue to work on that image library as well as our video image library. On June 1, we'll be launching a streaming ad using the video that we were collecting from the video project. And that'll be streaming on premium CTV and OTT inventory such as Hulu, Roku, Apple TV, Fox, ABC, that sort of thing. And then we just had a virtual tour that works with virtual tour company that works with Google Maps come in, and they captured the inside of the visitor center with all of our updates that we've had, and we just launched that today, so that if you go on Google Maps, you can now do the virtual tour of the visitor center. Some of our visitor statistics, just looking at the last quarter, of course, our traffic has been down about 45%. If I look at just the guest book numbers, that's kind of not paying as much attention to the group tours. A lot of group tours, they come in, they use the restrooms, and they're out. But really the visitors that come in, they experience what we have. Of that, we're about 4% of our international compared to what we were in 2019. So you know that the big deep impact has been international visitors. Domestic's about 76% of what it was in 2019. So that's really picking up. From the activities people are reporting on, we're seeing an increase in those that are coming strictly to visit Kingman, the museums, and a slight increase on Route 66. There's been a pretty good decrease in the number of visitors that are coming and they're experiencing Grand Canyon, Las Vegas. For instance, this year right now, we're seeing about 20%. That's 1 in 5 visiting Grand Canyon versus 28% in 2019. So it's a pretty good decrease. We're seeing more people that are really focused on experiencing what we have here in Kingman. The group visits for the first quarter, we had 40. That compares to 186 in 2020. Of course, we didn't have all of March in 2020, and 328 in 2019. So you see we still have a ways to go, but we are seeing that trend up. Just for the month of April, we had 26 group tour stops at the visitor center. And we're seeing a sale for about every 7 visitors compared to every 10 visitors last year, 2020 for the first quarter. And we're also seeing about a 10% increase in average sale value, transaction value. And that's all I have on the tourism side.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, I think you can really see, Chairman, what I'd like to do is at some point, we can certainly invite everybody to come down and see all the improvements that have been done at the powerhouse and enjoy the museum. So one of the things too that we continue to work on is continuing to try to find a permanent and larger home for the electric car museum. So that is something we push forward on. And then this last week, or a couple of weeks ago, we entertained at the powerhouse, and Sharon was an integral part of it. And it was, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about it because it was pretty exciting. It was the young executives and the young professionals. And so Sharon, if you could just kind of, I thought it was a very successful event, and I think we've started something pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree. So that would have been May 7th, which was also the first Friday. It coincided with that. We planned a meet up at the powerhouse. It was promoted through events such as the Home and Garden Show. We have a Facebook that was created. I believe there was an email out and just word of mouth through various service organizations. I'm Venture Club mentioned it. I know the chamber was really pushing because we actually collaborated with Local First. They had done a study in the area and found that this was something that was needed. So they assisted us in planning and assisted us with resources. So we did catering through the hospital, and we managed to use one of the rooms at the top of the powerhouse. There were tours offered throughout the powerhouse, which were very popular. We ended up having about 35 to 45 people show up. Very varying careers. We had yoga instructors and holistic life coaches to prosecuting attorneys and engineers. So it's a really nice mix of people. We've planned a second event, which is already receiving quite a bit of traction and interest. It'll be June 13th. It's going to be a kickball game at Centennial Park. And then the teams will gather. They can transfer to a restaurant. I believe Blackbridge is the meeting point after for pizza and a discount on drinks. So we're trying to work with different businesses around for when we do have the events to really enhance that portion as well, and maybe offer discounts to the members and maybe get them out of the spaces that they've known. Any businesses willing to promote, if you do have a lot of employees that have come in under 40 or who have just moved here looking for a way to connect with other young professionals, we really encourage sending out the information. And I'm happy to push that through so that you guys have that and can share it, because having 35 to 40 at the first one was huge, and we just like to see it grow. I know that there's a lot of people coming into Kingman, and not everybody's sure of how to meet other people in this age group. It's kind of difficult at times. So it allowed a really nice venue for that, and it was a huge success. We're looking forward to continuing and hopefully doing monthly events. Local First, I know, will help us with an end of summer and then also a holiday, and then kind of leave us to our own devices and continue on.
Thank you. I thought it was, again, a very successful event, thanks to everybody on the committee. So again, Madam Chairman, I want to just apologize for the shortness that we had to do today of the meeting, but we will be back full bore in July. So.
Okay. I wanted to welcome new Commissioner Stockbridge and Mavalo. Is that how I say it? I don't want to mess up somebody's name. Just to welcome you to the commission. I am excited to work with you, and if you have any questions, I'm sure you have my contact information, and just call on me anytime. So yeah, what?
I said thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a motorcycle in the background now.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think you're right. We have a wonderful complement of commissioners and across the board, and we have filled, all those critical sectors from the community, which is unique to this commission. So I am, as you are, very excited. So Lisa, is there anything else you need to tell the commission before we let go?
Just a note, Chair Sixta, that Commissioner Montalvo did call in saying she was going to be absent. So
it's going to be taped, so she'll see it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I just want her to know that we're glad she's here. Okay. Anybody have anything? Okay, then I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Second?
Second the motion.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.